everyone. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you so much for joining us. At Million Marker, we help men and then women to balance their hormones by helping them reduce their exposure to plastic chemicals. Many plastic chemicals mimics estrogen or blocks testosterone, which can disrupt the ways our hormones communicate. Women have fluctuating hormones already as it is. Messing with these hormones can make issues worse. We work with many women in childbearing age with their fertility issues. Many that could be potentially caused by hormone disrupting chemicals. However, these hormone disrupting chemicals can also have an adverse effect on women who are transitioning into menopause. And during this time, women's hormones are changing, and which makes this new chapter very confusing to many. That's why we're invited Dr. LaKeisha McMillan onto our IG Live. Dr. LaKeisha is an integrative gynecologist, perimenopause and menopause specialist, and author of the book, The Other PMS. I just saw her. Oh, hello. Hi, Dr. LaKeisha. Thank you so much for joining us.
Sure, my pleasure. How are you, Dr. Hong?
This is good. I'm good. Like, this is Memorial Day. So, like, it looks like you're working too on Memorial Day.
I know. It's okay. I'm going to adjust my stand just a little bit, if that's okay. I think that my lighting is doing something interesting. There we go. Okay, I'm good.
Awesome. So I did a little bit intro already, but tell us a little bit about your background, like how you ended up becoming a perimenopause and menopause specialist.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. So my journey, my journey actually probably started when I was about 12 years old. I remember telling my parents around that time that I wanted to be a doctor. And I was blessed to come from a two-parent household. Both my parents are educators, and they were just like, okay, we're not doctors. You need to find yourself around a doctor to make sure that's what you want to do. And so from the age of 13, I was able to be at Dr. William Hicks' office in Huntsville, Alabama, and follow like all aspects of his practice. I ended up even going to his alma mater, which is Loma Linda University School of Medicine in California. And just kind of knowing from a very early age that I wanted to be a doctor, but then also I did want to do women's health. I wanted to be able to help women at a time in their life where it could be the most wonderful time in your life, but it can also be the most scary. I have stories from where women have walked in and been very healthy, had, very serious complications, but because they were young and healthy, they'd walked out the hospital, that kind of a wild roller coaster ride. And so just going from college, getting accepted early into medical school. Actually, my junior year, I got accepted into medical school, and then going through medical school, getting reacquainted with a college colleague of mine, and we will be celebrating 20 years of marriage this week. We have 2 kids and a dog later. I tell people all the time, if you look at my highlight reel, we love everybody's highlight reel. It looks great, right? It looks good. It's like, oh my gosh, she's checking off all the boxes. This looks great, right? But can I share my real story with you today?
Please.
Okay, so, there are times in our lives, we'll never forget, right? You can agree with me. There's something that happens. There's an event that is also associated with a date. And so you'll either remember one or the other, but it'll be just really imprinted on you. And it can really change the course of your life. And for me, I have 2 dates, actually. The first one is April 2nd, 2009, when I lost my father to complications from a stroke unexpectedly. And then 10 months later, February 23rd, 2010, my grandmother passes away suddenly. And our family, really tight-knit, thank you so much. Our family, just tight-knit family. And we were you had just ripped the rug from underneath us. So I felt like I was literally in free fall, just like trying to grab on to the sides of life, right? I've been married for about 7 years now. We had a son. And at this time, I was really just going through the motions. going through the motions, trying to heal, trying to figure out this grieving process. But my body was doing some crazy stuff, y'all. I mean, it was doing some really crazy things at this time. I remember sitting on labor and delivery one night, and my blood pressure was 160 over 110.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And the nurse was like, do you need to go to the ER? Like, are you okay? Like, really? And I just remember saying, you know what? I need a timeout. I need an exit strategy. I wasn't liking my patients anymore. When my pager went off, I was just like, what do you want? Like, what do you want with my life, really? And so I took a step back. By this time, we've had our second child. And I was like, okay, Lord, I need an exit strategy. Like, something needs to give. And so as I'm healing, as I'm going through therapy, amen for therapy, right? And peeling back these layers of what's grief and what's complicated grief and how this affects my body physiologically, I started diving into the world of functional medicine and integrative medicine and pulling things together a little more than what I had already intuitively been doing, because Loma Linda's motto is to make man whole. So we always were taught to look at the entire person. But I remember taking a step back and kind of going, physician, heal thyself, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is when I realized that I really love educating. I still loved women's health, just in a different way. And that's when I was able to reinvent myself, so to speak, and now be able to come to the world as an integrative gynecologist, hormone specialist, speaker, best-selling author. And I help ambitious women who are struggling with depleting hormones through perimenopause and menopause get their hormones balanced, regain mental sharpness, and have the energy to last the entire day.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So you just mentioned the integrative gynecologist. So tell us, what is the integrative gynecologist?
Oh, awesome. I'm so glad you asked that question. So integrative gynecologist is where I'm able to pull you together as a whole person. I say often, if you follow me on any of the social platforms I'm on, if you come to any webinars I've done, you will hear me say, inevitably, in some form or fashion, medicine has gotten very good at dismembering the body. We've gotten very good at just looking at our area of expertise and not saying, hey, there's a connectivity. You are an entire person. And so I used to do this in my practice, and I call it in my former life of being a regular OBGYN. And a woman would come in and say, hey, my periods are a little wacky. This kind of started about 3 months ago. And I'll inevitably step back and say, okay, what changed in your life 3 months ago? Mm-hmm. And they'll go, what do you mean what changed 3 months ago? Like, that has everything to do with everything, because environmental factors play a role. There are things that will trigger physiological changes in the body. There are literal environmental changes that will trigger. I mean, there's so many things that can actually play into why a symptom presents itself. Okay. So that's what I was kind of doing anyway. But now I'm able to say, absolutely, yes. I've done some, continuing education courses on hormones and hormone disruptors and how this presents, how it shows up on a daily basis, because that's what we're supposed to do. I'm your medical interpreter. I'm here to help you understand the language of medicine, okay? Because it's a whole different language.
Yep.
Right? And so I should be able to take this Latin that I've learned, that I use to talk to other practitioners so they know what I'm talking about, but then I should take this and be able to give it to you so that you know what we're talking about and you know how it shows up every day. So that's the way I look at integrative gynecology, is where I'm able to take a symptom that you give me. Now, I mainly deal with perimenopausal and menopausal women now in my life, kind of probably going with my own cohort now, and so I'm able to take in what they're telling me, and I can go, oh, I know what this is. Let me help you understand. And then let's see if we can find a solution to that issue.
Right. This is also such a special stage in women's life. And then you have like such great content focusing on PMS, menopause, that really like these conditions can also like deplete energy.
Yes.
So like, what is the connection like there between, energy and hormones?
Oh my gosh, you got a couple days. Oh my goodness. Energy, connection between energy and hormone, our ability to get through our day. I talk about it as putting the right fuel in your tank. So what happens is, and it's so funny, it's like, is it the chicken or the egg kind of thing? Which came first, right? Well, I'm going to start from the premise that you had some depletion of hormones that probably started as early as your 30s, like mid to late 30s, mainly probably testosterone and progesterone. Okay, those are the two big ones that probably started getting depleted around that time. You're still having a regular cycle for most people. They're like, okay, I still have a cycle. I still know what's going on, you know. But then there are things that show up, right? So because your progesterone has started getting depleted and your testosterone, your sleep gets disrupted. So because your sleep gets disrupted, because you can't either fall asleep like you used to or even stay asleep like you used to, you're not breaking down your serotonin into melatonin and creating that cortisol overnight that should start rising as you go through the night. And so when you wake up, your tank is not even a fourth full. Okay, you may be halfway full. If some people they make it halfway full. So you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, it's another day. You trudge to the kitchen and you get some what? Coffee, right? So you got the caffeine in there. And so now you're kind of interrupting your body's ability to still make more cortisol or keep that active cortisol around. And there are two forms of cortisol. There's cortisol and cortisone. They're cousins. And your body goes back and forth between the two because you should have active, which is cortisol, and inactive, which is cortisone. And I say, think of them like the types of octane of gas that you should put into your tank. So cortisol is 93 octane. Cortisone is 87. A lot of times we have 87 when we should have 93. Okay. So we're on the struggle bus. We're just on the struggle bus trying to get through our day. And so, you know, I'll ask somebody, do you feel wired and tired? And they're like, oh my gosh, how'd you know that? Like, how? I'm like, yeah. Do you feel like you can just barely get through your day? Like you're waiting for that 5 o'clock so that you can just go, oh, okay, good. And crawl into bed and under the covers and please don't call my name. Don't say anything to me. I'm done. I don't have anything more to give. And so this is how our hormones can have a connection to the energy that we have to get through our day because we don't get the restorative sleep overnight. Okay. And then we do things during the day that are actually hormone disruptors that also continue to put us in that deficit. And so that is a kind of Cliff Notes version of how hormones can affect our energy. There's so much more, but that, like I said, that's the Cliff Notes version.
Right. So then like these conditioned women can really feel it during, like we mentioned, like perimenopause and also menopause.
Absolutely.
What is the difference between like menopause and perimenopause?
Oh, great question. So perimenopause, peri means around the time of menopause. But get this, ladies, that can last for 10 to 12 years. Yeah, wow. You heard me. Yeah. It can be that long because it is a decreasing of various hormones and hormone systems to be able to talk to each other. So I say this, nobody is listening to the conductor anymore. That's what's happening. You have the pituitary that is the conductor of the symphony. The hypothalamus is the guy that writes the symphony and he actually makes the music and then he sends it down to the pituitary and says, okay, I need you to get the body to play this. And the pituitary should send signals out to the thyroid and to the adrenals and to the ovaries and to other areas and say, okay, everybody, watch me. Now you come in here. Now you come in here. No, not your turn yet. But nobody's listening anymore. And that is what can happen in perimenopause. So around the time of menopause, the definition of menopause, the book definition is 12 consecutive months without a period. Okay. So that means, ladies, if you go 6 months and you have a period, you have to start the clock over. If you go 9 months and you don't have a period, and you have a period, you have to
Then you start over.
If you go 11 months and you don't have a period and you have a period, you have to start the clock over. And the reason is because if you do not have any hormone therapy on board, if there's no reason for you to have a period after 12 consecutive months of no period, we have to make sure there's no uterine cancer in the uterus. That's point blank, the end. That's really what we're looking for. I mean, there can be other reasons, but we want to make sure that we're not missing uterine cancer. Okay, so that's why that's really important. And that's why that particular timeline is very, very important. So perimenopause is around menopause, which can be anywhere. A lot of women start experiencing perimenopausal symptoms in their early 40s. I did. Hi, my name is Keisha. And, some women experience it in their late 30s. Now, if you actually have a cessation of your period for that 12 consecutive months before the age of 35, that's considered premature ovarian failure. That's just the label we give so that, again, practitioners talking to each other, doctors talking to each other, we kind of know, okay, this woman isn't in her 50s. Like there was something else that we need to probably look into. So that's kind of the definition. Perimenopause around, menopause 12 consecutive months. Now, this is where I probably differ from the mainstream or most people's definition. Then most people say the very next month or the very next day after you do that 12 consecutive months, you're postmenopausal. I just say you are now in that menopausal phase of life. Because I started seeing when women heard postmenopausal, they thought, I'm done with something. I'm through. I'm on the other side. My body's going to go back to. No, you are now in a new phase. I mean, think about it. Adolescence. Did you get through adolescence and then did you go back to toddler? No. This is now a new phase for you to have to figure out what tools you need to make sure that this body acts right so that you can still be a contributing member to society.
Wow. I love your analogies with the conductor, all the hormones. This makes it so easy to understand. And you actually just answered my question, because my next question is, okay, at what age do women usually start this transition? So it seems that most women starts like this perimenopause stage, like early 40s, could last for like a long time.
Yes.
But they don't officially get into menopause until they have 12 months without period.
Correct. And usually the average age for women in America is about 55. So the textbooks usually say between 52 to 54. What I'm seeing is around 55. In clinical practice, you'll see around 55, where most women come in and say, oh yeah, I haven't had a period in a year. So they probably between 54 and 55 is where they started seeing, they were like, yeah, there was no more cycle. And then, like you said, early 40s. I mean, I remember I was around 40, 41 where I felt horrible. And I was like, what's going on? And so I got my own hormone levels checked. Y'all, I had no measurable testosterone, none. It didn't even register in the reference range. And I was like, no wonder I feel like I'm walking sideways. No wonder I'm reaching for words and I have a word salad in my head and I can't seem to put my thoughts together because I have brain fog. That's one of the big signs that a lot of women come in with. You have women that were running C-suites, running companies, and they're like, I can't even read these reports anymore. I can't even have a conversation without going, what was I saying again? Why did I come in this room again? And we get the whole proverbial, girl, you just getting old. That's okay. Welcome to the club. No, it is a true physiological problem.
So other than brain fog, what are some early symptoms?
Oof, there are so many. I know one lady I follow on TikTok, and she's amazing. She does a lot of menopausal teaching, Andrea Dunsky, and she has clocked over 85 symptoms. I mean, and when she was doing some of the new ones, I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. Like, oh my goodness. So some of them can be brain fog. The main ones are usually brain fog, insomnia that is sudden onset. Like, I have people that talk about, oh, I've always been a horrible sleeper. That can be some neurochemistry, and that's a whole nother basket. But if you've been a great sleeper and then all of a sudden you just can't get to sleep, or you get to sleep, you can't stay asleep, you're starting to have warm flashes. And a lot of women don't talk about night sweats as much as they talk about getting warm at night, where they were fine, they were comfortable. Then about 4 o'clock in the morning, they're like, whoa, what is this? I need to kick the covers off, or I need to put my foot out the covers to regulate my temperature. That it can be because your progesterone and your estrogens and your testosterone, all three of those really, but mainly progesterone and testosterone, have not been regulated like they used to. So we have insomnia. We have one of the things that she was just talking about is mouth burning. And I was like, oh my goodness. I had that so bad around late 2020, early 2021. I was looking for all kind of sores in my mouth. I was like, do I need to go to my dentist? Do I have a yeast infection? What's going on? And it can be because also what's happening is that you may have some micronutrient deficiencies as well. And so I did talk to a nutritionist that I know and I trust. And she was like, yeah, let's do some labs. So she was like, yeah, it looks like your labs are showing this calculation I can do that shows a big anion gap and you have a B1 deficiency, which can show up. And so she had me taking some B1 and I was working on some gut health. And lo and behold, my mouth got better. But it's so funny here recently, it's been coming back again. And I'm like, why is it? And I was like, oh, this can be a symptom of perimenopause as your hormones are continuing to change, because I'm getting closer to that end of the 40s, y'all. And I'm like, ooh, okay. So we have mouth burning. We have skin itching. Oh my gosh, itchy skin. And that can be because your estrogens are dropping. You can have itchy ears, women talking about itchy ears, or tinnitus, or ringing in the ears, or almost hearing like this whoosh. Now that you need to also go get checked, because if you're hearing a whooshing sound in your ears, it could be anemia, another sign of anemia. So some of these overlap with other issues and other diagnoses. We call them differential diagnoses in medicine. So they're not just specific, or what we call pathognomonic, which means only specific to perimenopause or menopause. But if some things are popping up and they're new, and you go to your doctor and they do some of the regular routine tests and they can't find anything, it more than likely can be that your hormones are being depleted. So those are just a few. What's another one? Well, vaginal dryness. A lot of women start talking about vaginal dryness, and being very, having this cloak of shame almost when they talk about vaginal dryness, because then that brings in a partner issue. And a lot of times the partner's like, well, what's wrong? I can't do this for you anymore. What's the problem? And this is where you need to start having conversations with your partner so they understand. It's not necessarily that your libido has gone away, and that can be another sign. Some women do have a decrease in libido, but it could be that you just don't have the tissue integrity that you used to have. So these are just a few, just a smattering, a sprinkling of a few.
So women should really start paying attention, be mindful of these symptoms, so then they can take actions early.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense. And then, I mean, this is part of kind of normal aging process, right? But we also know, like, whenever we talk about aging, we think about skin. Like we think about like collagens and all these things. So I know that estrogen does play a role in impacting collagen, impacting the whole like aging process.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about this?
Oh, wow.
How does estrogen impact collagen, and how does estrogen play into the aging process?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you said it is a normal process. This is something that does happen. And what the conversations are now around are, what do you do about it? Do you have some people that feel that this is a normal part of how you're supposed to live, and you just, kind of grow old gracefully. And if that is your philosophy, and if it is not disruptive of your life, I am not saying that that is wrong. There are some people that feel, yes, it's a normal part of aging, but it is disrupting my life. It is really impacting me. And I was one of them. It was really impactful. And so I'm like, what's out there? What can be done? And as you said, what it is that understanding what the different hormones do when they are at their optimal level is kind of where we start, is where I start with a lot of my patients too. I kind of help you understand what it was doing. So estrogen really does help with collagen formation and integrity in the epidermal layer of the skin. So your skin has several layers, and I'm not a dermatologist, and I do not claim to play one on TV. So I'm just going to let you know of my basic understanding of the skin is that there's an epidermal layer, and even the epidermis has several layers within it. Now, estrogen, there are certain estrogen receptors in that epidermal layer that actually help the skin to make certain types of collagen, as well as even to hold on to certain molecules, one called hyaluronic acid. There's also glucosamides. These things actually help you to hydrate your skin. So that gives that skin that nice supple plumpness, that luminosity that some people talk about, that youthfulness. It also helps the skin to turn over very fast because we lose skin cells all the time. As we get older, it takes longer for that turnover to happen. And so estrogen helps in that whole process. It helps with being able to slough the skin off. It helps with that collagen being able to stay nice and firm and have that integrity. And so there are studies that have looked at, okay, how do we give women back estrogen? What does this look like? Is it a cream? Is it a patch? Is it an insertion? And, how do we do this? Because it's not just the skin here, like on our face or here on our arm, the things that we can see, but even vaginal health really depends on estrogen. So I tell my patients, I say, think of the vagina as like it had hills and valleys. Like it was, that's what it is. It was like rugae is what we call it. This nice mucosal surface that was, had all this nice luscious, hyaluronic acid, glucosamide. So it loved all this great nutrients. As we get older and our estrogen starts plummeting, it gets like an ice skating rink. Just smooth.
Yeah.
But it feels like parchment paper. So it's like, it's rough, it's hard, it just does not feel good. And so that's when women get misdiagnosed with recurrent UTIs. They get misdiagnosed with vaginal infections, or they're always given like maybe an antibiotic or an antifungal because they think they have yeast. And really it is the estrogen has depleted and that tissue is just not healthy anymore. And so I have to, I love saying, hey, let me educate you. So if you think of the vagina as a room, the entrance is the door, the ceiling is the bladder, the floor is the rectum, the back wall is the cervix. So if this entire room now, the whole integrity of the room has changed, your bladder is going to be irritated. So that's why you feel like you got to go to the bathroom all the time. That's why you feel like you have a UTI. And if the floor is kind of irritated, then the integrity of the rectum sometimes is impacted as well. And that can impact how you are regular as well. So just think about all the connectivity, integration. And so where you would go and say, oh, I have a bladder infection, or I can't go to the bathroom, or I can't. This is where you need somebody to think about you as an entire person.
This comes down to the integrative gynecologist. Now it's like, this makes like so much sense. So what are some natural ways to replenish our collagen then?
Wow. I was scouring. I was trying to figure that out. I did not find, I have to be fully transparent. I did not find, unless you can interject here, any natural ways to increase our collagen. What I did find was that if you replenish the estrogen, then that can help you actually make better collagen or continue to hold on to your collagen. So that's the lens that I look through, is where I will then talk about bioidentical hormones, be it through a cream, delivery system, or a patch, or even pellets. And that's where you need to have a conversation with a doctor or healthcare provider that does hormone therapy, that checks your levels, that has a full conversation with you so that you can decide what form is best for you. Because what I have come to find is that when I give women back bioidentical estrogen, their symptoms resolve and they start feeling better. They're women who had little incontinence. You know, they had mild incontinence. Remember, the ceiling of the vagina is the bladder. And so that collagen was weakened. You didn't have that structural integrity. And as I gave them back estrogen, that structural integrity came back a little bit. And they're like, oh, you know what? I'm exercising and not kind of leaking anymore. Like, yay, excellent. So it's more so having a conversation to see what is best for you. I know that there are different supplements that will talk about collagen, that you can get collagen in supplements. I'm not exactly sure how that will impact the vaginal health, but it could. I just don't have that information.
That makes a lot of sense, that people really need a tailored program and actually, and they're really understanding their body and they'll work with someone who knows what they're doing, like, to help them.
Exactly.
So this brings me to your program, because I think your program is like kind of exactly tailored for this. Is the Hormone Hotties. I love this name. So tell us, what is it?
I love it. So I call all the ladies that are in this phase of life with me hormone hotties, because being a hormone hottie means that you are a woman that is ready to take back the reins of your health. Being a hormone hottie means that you are looking for ways to partner with someone to be able to say, okay, let's have some conversations. I'm not just trying to be here for you to just tell me what to do and not have an exchange. And then being a hormone hottie means taking this knowledge, this information, and using it correctly, which means you now have wisdom and you're passing it on to the next generation, because we need the next generation to know what's coming down the pike, that this is where you're going to spend a third of your life, honey. Okay. So this is the way it looks and this is what you can do. And so being part of my VIP group, I call you guys the Hormone Hotties. If you follow me here on Instagram, you're a Hormone Hottie. I also have a whole entire program called the Hormone Hottie Reset Bundle. And that is where we can dive into some things through testing, and you get to have some one-on-one time with me where I can then look at you and create a hormone blueprint for you. We can look and assess your risk, your cancer risk. We can look at some foundational, making some personal foundational recommendations for you, as well as some vitamin templates as well. And then there's some other bonuses and goodies involved with that as well.
That is so awesome. Besides this bundle, besides the private VIP group, I know you also have a book called The Other PMS. So tell us about it, where people can find it.
Oh, awesome. So the Other PMS is your survivals for perimenopause and menopause. And it is like a doc in your pocket. I mean, there's some great books out there. Believe me, I have them on my shelf. I love diving into them. These authors don't know, but they're my mentors. Actually, you know, they're like my virtual mentors. I love them. I was thinking, though, in talking to a lot of women, that they really want kind of the Cliff Notes version. Mm-hmm. They love the meat, you know, they want, you know, when their brains are clear enough, they want to sit down with the meat. But before this, they want the Cliff Notes version. And so this is why I came up with the Other PMS, your survival guide. Because I felt like, if you thought about it, when you're on the run, you know, you just want some really quick, like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? You know, what's going on? How do I do this? What conversations do I have? What tests do I ask for? How do I ask for this? And so that's what the Other PMS is. It is your Cliff Notes version. It's your survival guide so that you can start understanding what's going on right now. And I have a link in my bio on my Instagram page. If you go to Dr. LaKeisha MD and go to the link in my bio, there is a link for you to be able to purchase your autographed copy of the Other PMS from me.
Oh, that's so awesome. We're actually going to include that in our IG notes today as well, because I think that's such great resource for everyone. So thank you so much for this such great information. And then everyone, be sure to follow Dr. LaKeisha at Dr. Dr. LaKeisha MD And then you can learn all the her services, and then join the hormone party, and then also order the book, because we'll have all the information in the LinkedIn bio. And this is such great information. Thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you for letting me be here with your community. It has been an awesome opportunity, and it has been an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.